Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. I am Ryan Bolin. Thank you all for joining me. So, Governor Josh Shapiro made a statement in an interview the other night that Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, is an agent of chaos. You probably heard that said before. What I'm going to do, I'm going to read you a partial transcript of what he said and why he said it. But I'm going to start off right off the bat by saying this. Yes, Trump was an agent of chaos, and he will be an agent of chaos if he becomes the president in 2024. But I'm going to explain to you what I mean when I say that. Let's get right into this article. Yeah, you're right. I agree, sir. He was an agent of chaos, and he will be an agent of chaos if he's reelected. And I'm going to show you how he's going to be an agent of chaos. Governor Josh Shapiro says Sunday on ABC's This Week that former President Donald Trump is an, quote, agent of chaos who is trying to restrict our freedoms. You're absolutely right. He is an agent of chaos who is trying to restrict our freedom. Let's hear what the governor has to say here. He says, Shapiro says, Joe Biden is going to be our nominee, and I'm proud to support him. He talks about being a bridge. And let me tell you something. He helped us repair that bridge on I-95 in 12 days. He was my partner in that, and he's been a partner to many of us across the country in moving our country forward and saving our economy from ruin and helping America get back on its feet post you know what. This is a president who delivered. Now we've got to go out and make that case. The president, the vice president, and those of us who are privileged, who support him and have a front row seat to this. Who the heck is he talking about when he said about those who are privileged? Think about that, right? We've got to go out and do this important work now. Back to what I said earlier about Charlemagne's voice. I think this really is going to be an election, yes, where Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the candidates, but really where it is going to be a question for every single American about what kind of country do we want to build. On the one hand, we've got an agent of total chaos. Notice how he emphasizes that, right? Someone who wants to restrict our freedom, you're right. And someone who puts himself first, and that is Donald Trump. Yeah, okay. I mean, consider this. Remember what it was like when Donald Trump was president. He was in our faces, yep. And in our living every day injecting chaos. Yep. Think about what will happen here in Pennsylvania if he gets his way and he does away with Obamacare. Yep. Something he's pledged to do. Yep. That means 1.2 million Pennsylvanians won't have health insurance. Think about if he gets his way with a national ban on abortion. This guy is trying to take away the freedom of millions of women across this country. We've already seen what he's tried to do when people go out and vote and choose someone other than him. He tries to overthrow the government. Talking about that January 6th debacle, right? Woo! This is a guy who is an agent of chaos, who is trying to restrict our freedom, and every American is going to have to stand up and be counted as to whether or not they want to continue to be a voice of freedom and democracy. I cannot stand these people, man, I swear. This is going to be a beacon of hope to countries around the world. And so in many ways, this election is less about Joe Biden and Donald Trump and more about us and the kind of country that we want to build. Let me say this before I read any further. That's one of the reasons why I have a hard time actually listening to these people and watching the mainstream. I would rather read the article. I'd rather read their transcript and read what they said rather than listening to them. Because my stomach tying knots. I cannot listen to them because I know they're lying. I can't stand to hear them talk. So I'd rather read what they have to say. Okay, let's go on. And I've got confidence, this is his words further, and I've got confidence to the American people, just like as they did in 2020, they will rise up, they will demand more, they will seek justice, and they will look to defend freedom in this nation, and they will reject Donald Trump. End of article, end of transcript, right? These were his words supposedly during this time, right? Governor Shapiro. Now, you may be asking, Mr. Bolin, are you turning on Trump? No. I totally agree with Governor Shapiro with the idea that Trump was an agent of chaos and is an agent of chaos and will be an agent of chaos in 2024 who will restrict people's freedoms. But here's what I mean by that. He was an agent of chaos when he was the president against the elite's agenda. He gave them hell. He was an agent of chaos against the radical Marxists. He was an agent of chaos against the communists and the socialists in the White House on a local, state, and federal level. He caused chaos in the agenda that they was trying to push. Of course, he's going to be an agent of chaos against Marxists trying to push transgenderism and explicit material on our children in the school, trying to confuse their sex. Governor Shapiro said that he's going to restrict our freedoms. Okay, all right. He's absolutely right. He's going to restrict certain people's freedoms. But the people's freedoms that he's going to restrict is these nasty people, teachers and professors pushing these radical ideologies on the students. You would not be free to do whatever you want to do. You would not be free to put your hands on innocent kids. You would not be free to push radical agendas on the susceptible minds of young kids, confusing them. They're already at an age where their minds are not really developed. And these radical Marxists know that. These radical Marxists in government know that. These communist sympathizers in government know that. They're pushing these immoral concepts on our young people in the school. That is why parents begin to form groups and rise up against them. Although, you know what, the alphabetical order group decided to try to say they were terrorists when the parents stood up. But he is an agent of chaos. Yeah, he is restricting people's freedoms, and he will restrict people's freedoms. But guess whose freedoms he's going to restrict? What I just mentioned, the radical agenda. It's not the American people that Trump is going to restrict in terms of their freedoms. It's not the regular Joe Schmo that gets up every morning and goes to work to try to pay his or her bills and buy food with an economy that's so jacked up after Biden got in office. I don't need to talk about how high inflation is. I don't have to get on it. You know what that's all about. You deal with it every day. I don't need to go over that. We're not going to even go there. Trump's policies will conflict with theirs, causing chaos. So yes, he was an agent of chaos, and he will be an agent of chaos, and he will restrict freedoms, but it will not be against the American people. It will be against the people in government who are trying to push radical agendas, and the people in the school systems who are trying to push radical agendas and radical policies upon the American people. He was and will be an agent of chaos and a restrictor of freedom to those groups. Okay, so yeah, he is an agent of chaos. Let me sum the video up this way. I'm going to be religious now, okay? Jesus was an agent of chaos. You said, wait a minute, Mr. Bowden, what are you talking about? When Jesus came on the scene, he was popular among the people, the regulars. Why was he popular? Not only was he healing people of their diseases, but what he preached and taught was liberating. What he preached and taught wasn't you can do whatever you want to do and live in sin. That's what it wasn't about. The problem at the time when Jesus came on the scene was that the religious leaders, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, had added hundreds and hundreds of extra laws to the law God had gave to Moses, making God's laws extremely burdensome to the point where people were walking around on eggshells, fearing that they could not fulfill what God had required, because the religious leaders who had become Christ figures at their time had added all these extra burdens on the people. And this gave the religious leaders, the Pharisees and Sadducees, a sense of power and control over the people. Here comes Jesus saying, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. What was he saying by that, you may be asking? Well, he was saying, take my yoke upon me. Take my yoke upon you simply meant that if you put your faith in me as Lord and Savior, I will save you based on my righteousness given to you, not you trying to obey a list of 500 rules and regulations that the religious leaders have tried to place on you. He became an agent of chaos, and that's one of the reasons why, if not the only reason why, the religious leaders, the Pharisees and Sadducees of his time, tried to kill him. He restricted their freedoms, not the freedoms of the people. The people wanted to worship God the right way. Jesus said in St. John, I believe the 6th chapter, they that come to me must worship, they that come to God must worship God in spirit and truth. God is looking for true spiritual worshipers. The Pharisees and Sadducees were not. They were religious, but they were not spiritual. They used religiosity to overburden the people. You see the parallel there? To oppress the people while they sat back with their arms folded and their chests sticking out. Because we so holy and you not. And God accepts us based on all these things we do, and he don't accept you. Woo, 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 woo. Same principle. Jesus came on the scene, liberated the people. Jesus came on the scene, restricted the freedom of the religious leaders and the policies they were pushing. And thus he became an agent of chaos to the religious leaders. Thus he restricted the freedom of the religious leaders, not the people. Same principle here. I think you get the message. So yes, Trump was. And if he was an agent of chaos and a restrictor of freedom during his tenure in office, and if he gets reelected, he will be an agent of chaos and he will be a restrictor of freedom to the elites, not the regular people. So no, Mr. Governor, I'm not falling for your rhetoric. I know how you operate. That's how it always is when it comes down to campaigning. Politicians attack the other politician, put the other politician down, demonize the other politician. I'm not going for it. And I advise other people that bother to listen to this video, don't fall for people like Governor Shapiro's rhetoric. Go back to the time when Trump was in office. And just try to concentrate and think about that for a moment. How bad was you off or bad off were you with Trump? Now, this you can personalize that because a lot of the things that people experienced during that time, a lot of it had to do with your own choices and so forth. I mean, it doesn't matter who's in office, for the most part, if you want something, you can get it. But let's be realistic, though. Was a lot of your freedoms restricted during Trump's tenure? Now, if you was just nasty and one of these elites, okay, and you was one of these pink hair, purple hair, blue hair teachers in school, if you want to call them teachers, pushing nastiness on these kids, then maybe he would have been a problem for you. But I'm going to assume that the people that listen to this video is not in that category. Were your freedoms restricted? Probably not. Probably not. Was your life chaotic based on his policies? More than likely not. But all you heard was that he was racist, he's racist, That's all you were hearing from the mainstream media and the progressive Democrats. That's all you was hearing. Am I right or wrong? I mean, let's be realistic. We really analyze it, No, he was an agent of chaos against the elites. He was a restrictor of freedom against their freedoms to do what they wanted to do. That's the way it really was, and it will be if he becomes president again. That's my words on that. What do you guys think about this? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.